Good afternoon from usually sunny and warm Hawke's Bay, not so much today. But I want to share with you something that's coming up, give you a little bit of background about how this all got started. I've shared some of this before in another video, but I just want to kind of back it all the way up. In 2019, my wife and I were in the States for my daughter's wedding. And while we were there, we spent quite a bit of time with my brother and his wife at their house. And we would drive out on the weekends. I'd speak in churches there. And often as we would drive out, we drove over a road crossing that crossed the Appalachian Trail in the States. At first, I didn't take any notice of that. But the more we crossed over that, the more memories started coming back to me from my childhood. Hiking in the woods, being in the woods, has been a pretty big part of my life since a little child. I mean, I've got photos of starting really early, being out in the backyard with trees and all that. As our family moved around quite a bit, every time we moved into a new area, one of the first things I would do would be to look for a place of where I could be in the trees and in the woods and where I could escape for part of the day. I remember at around the age of 11 reading the book My Side of the Mountain. It's about a boy who runs away from home and goes up into the mountains and hollows out a tree and lives off the land. And I was just enraptured with that story, so much that at one point I had a friend, he and I talked about doing this. We were going to run away from home and build a log cabin in the woods. And we even at the beginning of winter decided to go out one day, and we started. We cut down our first tree, and then it started snowing. And as, 11, 12-year-old boys, we ran home to play in the snow, and we never quite made it back out to our log cabin until the spring. When we got back out there, we found that someone had actually found our log that we had cut down and had cut it up and used it as a fireplace right out there where we were going to build our log cabin. So I guess we weren't as out far in the woods as we thought we would be. That was kind of a big part of my childhood, being in the woods. And then the teenage years hit. My enjoyment of solitude in the woods was replaced by team sports. I played gridiron, American football, played basketball. Those became my new loves. And hiking in the woods kind of faded into the background. When my high school career ended, cycling became my new activity, and I did that for a couple of decades, cycling some long rides and just really kind of being out there and enjoying the solitude, or maybe with some friends, but being on the bicycle. And then it was about 2019 that I rediscovered that passion for woods at that Appalachian Trail crossing. And I remember thinking about that friend who he and I had, were going to build that log cabin. His dad used to every summer go out and section hike part of the Appalachian Trail. And I remember thinking that I wanted to do that someday. And so, standing at the Appalachian Trail, I thought, this is it. I'm going to come back. I'm going to do this. But living in New Zealand, the logistics of that became pretty difficult. When I got back to New Zealand, did some searching around and found out that New Zealand has its own long trail, Te Araroa, meaning the long pathway. It's a 3,000 kilometer series of trails that start at the very top of New Zealand and work their way all the way down to the bottom of the South Island. I decided then that I was going to hike that trail, but I certainly needed some experience. So in 2019, I did my first multi-day hike, the Waikaremoana Great Walk. I had heard about this trail for years and decided this would be a great place to start. It was a disastrous experience and nearly ended my very short adult career of hiking. You can see the video here at this link somewhere. I'll point around somewhere. It'll show up there. It was a disastrous event. But I made some adjustments, rethought how I was going to do this, and then started doing some of the other great walks and hikes around New Zealand. So with my son, went back into Waikaremoana. We've done the Tongariro Northern Circuit. We've done the Abel Tasman track. We've done the Heaphy track. This past year, went all the way down to Stewart Island, did the Rakiura track with a good friend of mine. I've done the Round the Mountain track. It's my favorite track around Ruapehu, the volcano. I've done a couple of multi-day hikes up in the Whirinaki Forest, and then a number of hikes in the Kauwekas, the Kaimais, Fiordland. I also joined our local tramping club, the Araroa Tramping Club, and they're surrounded by people who've been doing this for decades, have learned so much, and I'm so grateful for their input and just helping me understand safety and learning the land and weather and all these kind of things. And while I'm sure I still have an awful lot to learn about hiking, I think it's time. I'm not getting any younger, that's for certain. So this is the year. This is the year I'm going to attempt Te Araroa, New Zealand's long pathway. So I'm going to be taking a sabbatical from my counseling work, from my church ministry work, and hiking from Cape Reinga with the goal of finishing in Bluff by the end of March. That's the goal, starting in October and finishing in March. And that's where you come in. I want to invite you to join me virtually on that hike. I'll be videoing the whole way along. Hopefully every day there'll be a video coming out. If you're not a subscriber, I'd love for you to subscribe so you get those videos coming to you every single day. I want to also invite you to at times send encouraging comments, maybe even asking questions, maybe even giving some positive, helpful advice if you think that there's something that I really need to know about. So that's it. I'm hiking Te Araroa this year. The byline of my channel is the video diary of a 50-plus-year-old living out his childhood dreams of being outdoors. Now, some people might think it's childish to do what I'm about to do, and okay, I'm okay with that. All I ask is this: do you have a dream from your childhood that you used to really want to do and it's kind of faded into the background? You know, adulting can be a pretty stressful activity. And maybe now's the time for you to bring that out for yourself. Living out our childhood dreams gives us balance by doing something we created before the adult stress took over our lives. Perhaps you might need to revisit your childhood as well. Maybe ask that younger version of yourself what you can do now that he or she dreamed of way back then. Maybe you have your own version of Te Araroa that you want to start working towards and doing that. Well, that's pretty much it. I'm going to probably in another couple of weeks put out a video of the gear that I'm planning on taking. And then sometime between the middle of October and the end of October, I'll begin putting out those videos of Te Araroa. So thank you for taking time to watch this. Thank you if you're a subscriber. Thank you for that. If you're not a subscriber, join the subscribers. You'll enjoy this. And we'll see you on the trail somewhere. So thank you very much. Y'all take care.